coming back to dinner party tonight. Did you miss me? I missed you. We have a very good menu for you tonight. It's called Flavors of Fall. We're gonna make ceviche, easy, don't be scared. Coq au vin, a classic. We're going to have a beautiful spinach salad, and then we're going to have flourless chocolate cake. And as a special surprise, we're gonna make some bread. Don't be scared, making bread. It's easy. The night before our party, we're going to make the coq au vin, chicken and wine, and the bread, and the flourless chocolate cake. So here we go. We're gonna make bread. This is to go with the coq au vin's lovely sort of crusty, rustic peasant loaf. And here's the thing. This is the easiest bread in the world. For some reason, they want to keep this a secret from you. Anybody can make this bread. First thing you need is 3 cups of regular flour, just normal flour that you have in your house, nothing special. And here's the terrifying yeast that everybody's like, holy crap. Yeast, it's alive, but you want to make sure it's alive. There's 2 different kinds of yeast, active yeast and instant yeast. The only difference is active yeast has to be dissolved in water for a few minutes before you use it. Take a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast, like that, put it in a bowl. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups of water. Not too cold, not too hot, just sort of wet the yeast. This is active yeast. Instant yeast you can just put straight in. And you're gonna leave it like this for a few minutes. If it dissolves and makes sort of a milky color, it means the yeast is alive. If it remains in the globules, ours is already melting, it means it's not alive. Look, I'm gonna give it to you straight. This is essentially the famous no-knead recipe from Sullivan Street Bakery that was in the New York Times. Just trust yourself, you can do it. So you're gonna take some salt, more than he says, by the way. Take some salt, and you're gonna put salt in the flour. It has 4 ingredients: salt, flour, yeast, water. Shake that around a little bit. Our yeast is already dissolving. See that milky color? So this is active yeast, it's alive now. It's alive! I'm gonna take a little olive oil, I'm gonna take another bowl, and I'm gonna put a little olive oil in that bowl. And I'm gonna kind of grease the bowl. This is where your dough is gonna rest, so have this ready. Basically, flour, yeast, greased bowl. Can you do that? I think so. That's 100% activated yeast. See how long that took? Less than 5 minutes. Pour both of these things in at the same time so they get kind of mixed together. And you're going to bring this together into a dough. It's a little bit messy, this part. Gonna bring it together like this. You're not kneading it, you're just making a dough. You wanna leave this in sort of a warmish place, not hot, but definitely not cold, because yeast is like a person. It's like an old person. It doesn't like it too hot or too cold. I'm gonna just make it into sort of a ball. It's a little bit of a mess. Don't worry about the dried up stuff in the bottom. Just leave that. You want the wetter dough. Don't mess with it too much. I'm just trying to make it into a globule. And then I'm just going to plop that globule into the bowl. So you just want to make it look sort of flat. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. You don't have to obviously knead it, hence its name, no knead. Your hands are filthy, right? After I wash my hands, I take my wet hand, kind of tuck in the edges. This is totally unnecessary, but I like it to look nice when it's sleeping and growing. You're gonna take a clean rag, and you're gonna cover your dough, and you're gonna find a spot for it, like I said. It's called a proving. You're proving the dough. If you watch a certain television show called Great British Bake Off, the greatest show besides MasterChef Professional UK, they have proving drawers in their ovens. I don't have that. So, a dishwasher that was recently run is a good place to put your dough. An oven that was warmed and is now just slightly tepid, that's a good place to prove your dough. In this case, I'm gonna use the dishwasher. And that's gonna stay there for at least 12. 18 is great, 24 is fine. And it's gonna grow. That's it. You did it. Well, there's one more step. Coq au vin, chicken and wine. It is really easy, but it does have multiple steps. So don't be afraid when you see the steps in the episode. Each step is facile, okay? But it does take a few steps. You are going to make a chicken stew that is going to blow your friends' minds. One of the number one problems with braises, which is what this is, it's a classic braise, is skimming the fat off the top of your stew. If you serve stew, even American style stew, and it has a layer of fat, that's gross. Nobody wants to eat that. So refining this is the issue. Whatever meat you're using, in this case it's coq au vin, which is chicken, you want to take away as much of the fat as you can, the excess fat. Some of the fat makes the dish beautiful, some of it makes it hard to skim. So I left a couple of these just to show you. So you see that? That's fat. So I took the skin off, which is very American, but cut that fat off. Just that little string will save me time later. There's a little piece there. Just gonna cut that off. And I'm putting it, as I cut it, in a nice tray lined with a piece of wax paper. There's a little bit there. I'm gonna cut that. Leave some fat, but you don't need all this excess fat, trust me. French people are committing suicide all over the world because I'm doing this, but A, the skin is supposed to be on, and B, you're not supposed to cut the fat away. But anyway, I'm giving you tips to make the perfect, easy coq au vin. And now I'm gonna liberally salt and pepper this. But I'm gonna wash my hands first, even though I wouldn't normally. What the world wants you to do is have a clean hand and a chicken hand. We got a lot of complaints about the chicken hand, which is why I made that snotty comment. Basically, I'm gonna use a glove so everybody can relax. This is my chicken hand, and this is my clean hand. So the first thing I'm gonna do is liberally salt, and by liberal I mean liberal, liberally salt all this chicken. Then I'm gonna turn the chicken and kind of mop up the salt. I mean, do you see Gordon Ramsay wearing a glove? I don't think so. Has he ever made anybody sick? I doubt it. That's my last comment. And then I'm gonna liberally salt the other side. I forgot to pepper the first side. So we're gonna have to go back. Yes, I got chicken hands on the top of the pepper mill. Everybody settle down. If you have a really good friend, you can get them to make seasoning for you, which is grinding a boatload of pepper into a plastic thing and putting salt and mixing it. It's the most convenient thing in the world, so you don't have to do this. Once again, I'm gonna sort of mop up like this. Mop up and turn, mop up and turn. It's a stew. So the chicken will never get colored or dark, except by the color of the stew. So the first thing you want to do is sear this chicken. I do it outside because it makes less mess. Today we're going to do it on a frying pan. You just want to color it. You're not cooking it. Color it so that it looks gorgeous in the stew. Dun, 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 dun. That's for the chickens. All right, so we're going to sear the chicken, and we're going to use a hot pan olive oil. So we're gonna heat the pan first, literally just for color. So you wanna make it sort of hot and fast, okay? Said the actress to the bishop. Yeah, that's pretty hot. These are incredible pans. They're called green pans. You can't put them in the dishwasher. Actually, this one you can, but they're the best nonstick I've ever used. This is the Paris line. All right, little olive oil. Woo! And we're going to saute, right? So we had to hear a sound. We had to hear a sound when we touch it in. Otherwise, the pan is not hot enough. So here we go. Do I hear a sound? No, it's not hot enough. Waiting for the pan to be hot enough to cook. We thought it was hot enough, then we took a look. Hear the sound? That's the sound. You're just gonna leave it in there until it's basically brown. You don't really care about cooking it because it's gonna be cooked for 5-6 hours in your stew. It's So what's the rule about searing something? The mistake people make with fish, with chicken, with meat, with anything, is they try to move it. They want to move it. They're scared of it burning. You don't want to move something in a pan until it's easy to move. I mean, it's slightly unfair because it's nonstick. While you're waiting for that beautiful color and crust on your chicken, you're going to take some pancetta, which looks like this. Just buy 2 slices, don't buy a big piece, you'll waste it. And you're going to cut it into little squares. This is for the bottom of your coq au vin pan. So you're going to cut it in bars and then just cut the bars into squares. Nobody's going to see this. It's basically flavoring for the bottom of your pan. And we'll come back to this after the chicken has some color. Okay, so this is moving easily. I'm going to turn it over. It has nice color. That's what I want. Okay, a few more minutes like that. No, it's like radio static. Come in. Come in. There's nobody on the line, sir. I'm going to take my paper and turn it over. And I'm going to remove this. Nice coloring. Nice, nice, beautiful. That's all you need, just like that. Then you can set this aside. You're gonna do some other stuff first. Good job, little chickens. Now we are going to begin the magic of French chicken stew. And I'm going to begin with the cut up pancetta. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of the pan, and I'm gonna take the pancetta and drop it in. It's not sizzling, but it will. These guys here, they told me the pot I wanted to use was too high, the sides were too high, and I couldn't shoot in the pot. So they made me use this mammoth pot, and I only have 5 pieces of chicken or something. This pot is too big. Nicholas. Let it sort of fry and get nasty. As we're frying this, I'm gonna explain to you what a mirepoix is. People call it mirepoix, which is, it's okay. Onions, carrots, and celery. And you cook this in the bottom of many, many, many French things. Mine is already cut up due to the magic of television. So as this is letting off a little bit of its grease, remember, it doesn't matter how this looks because like that big piece and stuff, it doesn't matter. Woo! Onions. And I'm gonna start with the onions when this is really releasing its... What is pancetta? Nicholas asked if it was cured. Does anybody know the answer to that out there? I don't know. Is it? Can you eat it raw? I'm not sure. If it's, it smells like it's like bacon, but you can't eat bacon raw, so I don't really know. Now you guys can use this. You can make vegetable coq au vin. You could, but I would use hard things like potatoes and peas and carrots. God, it would be really good actually. So this is just starting to get ever so slightly brown, but we're gonna go ahead and put in the onions, the top part of my mise en place. And there's a few shallots in there because I love shallots. And you're just gonna cook this down. It's gonna get a little bit serious in here, okay? You're gonna go on instinct. You're making the soul of your stew. Does it need salt? I don't know. Put a little salt. Ah, be French. Je ne sais pas, right? I had a French dirty weekend once. It should have been a one-night stand, but unfortunately it was a few days long. And the guy did this amazing thing, not that, where he, you know when we go, home, 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 when we imitate French people, they do that for English. It's like we go, oh, and he did their version, and it was amazing. It totally sounded like English. It was the most amazing thing, basically, about the guy. You know what I mean. Does take some time though. You know, it's messy, your kitchen's gonna get wrecked, but the awesome thing is the next day when you have your party, it's spotless and you just bring out the coq au vin. It's awesome. That's translucent. I'm now going to dump the rest of my mirepoix into the pan. I wash carrots very carefully, but I do not remove the skin for things like this because the skin actually has a lot of the carrot flavor. Peeling them takes away a little bit of that flavor. Okay, you're gonna let that cook down for a few minutes on sort of medium-high heat until these get kind of soft. I'm gonna taste one. Needs a little salt. You know how we always say on the show, if it tastes good while you're cooking it, you're probably guaranteed it's gonna taste good when it's cooked. Always a good rule of thumb. Okay, we're gonna do a very traditional continuation of basically Julia Child's, but a French recipe for this coq au vin. And we are going to sprinkle some flour onto this and then toast the flour. Just trust me, it works. So I'm just gonna go like this, essentially covering it with flour. Stir this around, and it's gonna burn a little bit, which is okay. And everything should be covered in flour like they're like those weird candies that nobody likes. What are they called? Turkish Delight. You see the bottom is quite dry and almost pasty. The next thing we're gonna do is flambe. And you can use cognac, bourbon, whiskey. I have a bottle of Hennessy, which is cognac, and I'm gonna flambe it twice. Why twice? Because twice is nice. Don't be scared to flambe, nothing bad's gonna happen to you. If you're in a shallower pan, which the crew wanted me to use, even shallower than this one, you can tip the pan and the flame will catch the fumes. But that's not gonna happen here, so I have my fire stick. I'm going to liberally pour in Hennessy, and then I'm going to quickly flambe. See that? Don't be scared. You have to move it around because make sure it's all burned off before you, yeah, see that? It's all burned. Keep that going, and we're gonna flambe again. Okay? Perfect, guys. You can tip it so that all of the alcohol catches. However, it doesn't really matter if you have raw alcohol in here because it's gonna cook for hours. I don't know how to explain it to you, but the cognac and the flambe deepens that bad attitude that this thing has. So it looks like that. You might be getting a little bit spooked about the bottom. Don't be. Now you're gonna take some tomato paste. I bought this, which is hysterical. It's actually really convenient and awesome. It's a tube of Leonard. What is it? You don't like the tomato paste? And I'm gonna go ahead and put that in. Okay. Put this in, kind of squirt it all around. And now you're gonna have something that looks a little bit scary because it's very thick and dark and weird. Trust me, you're doing the right thing here. You're gonna mix that in. Okay, you're gonna mix that up a little bit. Now I'm gonna deglaze with some wine, and I'm gonna push the bottom a little bit. Here's the deal with the wine. What wine do I use? Don't use wine that you wouldn't drink, bottom line. So using cheap wine for this is a bad idea, or wine that you wouldn't normally drink. So I'm kind of scraping the bottom. I'm not worrying about it too much. This is a beautiful beginning. And I'm gonna place the chicken into the pan, sort of nestling it in like this. This chicken juice you can pour in too, it's okay. It's gonna cook for hours. So this is a braise. What does a braise mean? A braise does not mean a boil, and a braise does not mean lukewarm, tepid, flaccid water. It's a very specific small bubble. It's not boiling, but it's not boiling. So we're gonna pour in liquid, and the liquid we're using is red wine that you would drink, and you want your chicken to be almost submerged, so that's a little bit too visible. So I'm going to use this incredible Spanish chicken stock that I bought at Netto. This stuff is amazing. And I'm gonna pour in the chicken stock until the chicken is almost underwater. Okay, that's good. I really recommend this. First of all, it's free range. Now we all know pastured is better than free range, but free range is good. And the ingredients are really good. It has a beautiful aroma, and it's not that salty. It's just a good product. I got it from Murray's Cheese. It doesn't have a price on it, and I was in a rush. So for all I know, it's like $15 probably. Just on instinct, even though it's gonna massively thicken anyway, I feel like it needs a little more tomato paste. I've made a lot of braises, so I get the vibe that it needs a little more. So I'm gonna put 2 blobs back in. And then I'm gonna bring this to the only time it's gonna boil, which is right now. I'm gonna let it boil. I'm gonna mash up the tomato paste. You can make this with any kind of wine. It's very different if you make it with white wine. And there's also Cocoa Riesling, Cocoa Montrachet. I don't know why you would do that, because it's a waste of Montrachet. But you know, like you can essentially change this up. You can put more onions. You can put spring onions in it to make it green with the white wine. You can play with this once you sort of understand the basic mirepoix, flour, flambe, tomato paste, chicken, or whatever, liquid. Okay, now it's boiling, and I'm gonna cover it, and it's gonna go to sleep for honestly 3 to 6 hours. Good night, my friend. We love you. We turn this down to low, and we go away. Now we're gonna make flourless chocolate cake. This is a flawless recipe from the indomitable King Arthur flour. If your friends are gluten-free, I'm not gonna say anything, this is a perfect cake. It also happens to be absolutely delicious and easy as pie, although it's cake. It's very rich, it's almost like fudge. So it's okay for it to sit overnight. In fact, I've made it 3 days in advance, and it's fine. You can make it on the day of your party. It makes a little bit of a mess, but not too much of a mess. It doesn't use a mixer or anything. It's really easy. First thing we're gonna do is melt some chocolate chips, semi-sweet or bittersweet, but that's pushing the chocolatiness, with some butter in a bain-marie, as they say, which is really a bowl set over some water. The bowl's not supposed to touch the water, but it doesn't really matter. Put these in like that. Put this sort of softened butter in. Now this is one of those cakes, like so many things I've made with you guys, where you think there's no possible way this is gonna work, okay? So I made several flourless chocolate cakes that were failures, total failures. I looked on the internet to find some recipe that worked, and of course, King Arthur flour was the winner. It's melting, and you're still like, I don't know, it doesn't look like that's gonna be good cake, but trust me, it's good cake. It's a big hit with everybody, right?
My favorite.
Okay, that's melting beautifully. When this is beautifully melted, which it is, you're going to take it off the stove, and you're gonna put it in a mixing bowl like this. A child could make this cake. But you have to act like it's like really hard and it took like days and stuff. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use this because I want maximum chocolate. And then there's no mixer involved, which is also super awesome. So you're going to put in the sugar, mix it around till it's mixed in perfectly, like that. You're gonna use vanilla paste, which I love, or you can use regular vanilla extract or vanilla plus from
King Arthur flour.
which is vanilla essence with the flecks of vanilla in it. I like this. It's very thick, and it's like liquid with flecks of real vanilla. Or you can use a real vanilla bean, or you can skip it. We're gonna put a little bit of salt. Shut up. Oh, Leonard, here, come on in. We're making chocolate cake. We're gonna put a little bit of salt, a little bit. Gives it a sort of a yumminess. Chocolate and salt, good combo. And then they call for 3 eggs. Use big eggs because these are the rising agent. So there's 1, 2, there's a little bit of shell went in there. And then I like to put in half an egg. Now what does half an egg look like? It looks a little bit like this. Okay, I'm gonna let some of that go. Right? And I'm gonna cut the yolk in half with my finger, like this, and push it over and do a little bit of white. Half an egg by Randy Sharp. Mix, 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 mix. And now you're gonna add half a cup of the messiest thing ever created in the history of planet Earth, which is cocoa powder. You're gonna do this over the garbage because it's gonna make the stinking mess in your entire kitchen. You're gonna add your cocoa powder, unsweetened. We're stirring it. This bowl is too small. You know, on the show we have a tradition of using the incorrect size of things. It's going everywhere. So you're just gonna mix it up till it's a beautiful chocolate mess like that. And I'm gonna pour it into my prepared pan like this. Now, trust me, I thought the same thing you're thinking right now. That's never gonna make cake. It does. You do not want the edge of your pan to be interrupted by stuff like that. So you're gonna wipe out this little tiny piece of chocolate and you're gonna re-butter that. You've preheated your oven to 375. You've poured in this cake into this pan, and you are now going to put this into a preheated oven. It's gonna make a beautiful cake, trust me. Goodbye, little cake. Have a good time. It's time to take the cake out of the oven. So, this is kind of what it should look like. A little bit separated from the edges and has you can hear it has a crust. We're gonna let this cool in the pan for about 5 minutes. And I'm just gonna warn you, these cakes are very fragile. Like I made one, perfect one, and as I was putting it on the cake thing, it broke in half. Kind of like a piece of fudge can break. So be careful. So this is a little nerve-wracking because they can break in half or stick, but we're gonna try and do this. It's about 7 minutes after we took it out. I'm running a butter knife around. Do you know what one of my mother's last words were? Was, please don't take my butter knife away. Check if she was at a dinner party. I'm turning this over. It came out. Okay, now gently, I'm gonna gently pull this back. This is the danger zone. This is when they break, okay? Okay, there. So a good thing that you can serve with this is chantilly cream, macerated fruit of any kind, or something really delicious that I've been doing. Buy a bag of malted milk powder and put about a tablespoon of this into your whipped cream bowl and whip it up with the whipped cream. And you get essentially like the inside of a Whoppers, you know that, or Ovaltine whipped cream with flourless chocolate cake. Hello. Listen to me very carefully because this is the secret. As your coq au vin has been braising, it has released fat. The light orange that you see is fat. The entire time you're cooking, you want to take a spoon and skim off the fat. And this makes for a very refined coq au vin. It tends to gather on the edges, and you're just going to skim the fat like that. If it's boiling quite aggressively, sometimes it's easier to see because the fat will go to the center. I'm going to add a little bit of chicken stock here. And I'm going to turn it up so that it boils a little bit. You can see it. Look at that chicken falling off the bone. So I'm looking. See right there? See that little island? Okay. So I take my spoon and I skim that island off. Another thing you can do is run a piece of bread across the top of it and it will pick up the fat globules. So this is the time-consuming part. You watch TV, you have a glass of wine, it's all the night before, you're simmering it, and every now and again you go over here and you take off the fat. So then at the end of your day, you want to take this pot and put it in the refrigerator overnight because it will A, get better, and B, the fat will solidify. And in the morning, it's really easy to get it off. If you are making your coq au vin and your cake the day before, you're done for the day. You can take off your apron, take off your glasses, and take a bath. If it's the day of your party and you've made your cake and the coq au vin is just simmering away waiting to be skimmed, now it's time to also take a little break. Maybe have a glass of wine. The morning of your dinner party, you can take it out and finish the refinement. It can be on the stove the entire day, or you can keep it covered with the heat off and just heat it up when your guests are coming. Basically, it's indestructible now. You can't mess it up. Here's the one that's already ready. You can see a little bit of fat on this one, but not very much. What I'm going to point out to you is like that. So anything that's orange, I'm going to take off. I'm just taking a cursory skim around the edge because it tends to go to the edges. I'm looking. I'm happy with that for now. So now I'm going to turn this up a little bit. I'm going to put a little more liquid in here because why not? And I'm going to move it around. It's been in the fridge. See that? There's fat right there. So I'm going to go in and get it. So we're just going to bring this back up to heat. And then after this step, essentially, you can do whatever you want with it. You can heat it all day. You can turn off the heat and put the heat back on when your guests come. You can put it in the fridge for a week. It's indestructible now. But we're going to heat this back up to get some boil going. Looks good. Put a little more liquid and wait for this to boil. Traditionally, this is, you strain this, and we are going to strain it because I'm going to show you how hard it is to strain it. That takes out the mirepoix that's in the bottom that you used at 3,000 years ago when you started this thing. You can leave that in and then it's country style, okay? But you're supposed to strain it and take the mirepoix out. You might want to think now about like, what am I going to serve this with? Some people just like to eat it out of the pot. Some people like to just take pieces of chicken and serve it with whatever other dish they've made. You can serve it on top of egg noodles, like something like that. So don't cook these until you see all your guests, and these take a very short time, whatever you buy, just look at the instructions. You know, some people do polenta, but that's like a little intense, and I think it's better for short ribs. You can also serve it with rice, but I like the egg noodles, so I think egg noodles are good. So we're going to do the straining. I mean, what are you going to do? Okay, so it's unnecessary, but it also makes it more traditionally gorgeous. The first thing I'm going to do is very carefully remove our chicken. Now this is going to be falling apart, so be careful with it. And you're going to get a little bit of your mirepoix in these tongs because it's impossible not to. Okay, so I'm going to put this here. Also, your hands get burned and stuff. Like my hands are burning right now, okay? You don't want to lose any of this liquid. So I'm sort of pushing it through the strainer. You know, they don't need to see this. I would do this before. I mean, look, it's a wreck. It wrecks everything, so. All right, that's now, quote, garbage. I'm just gonna wipe this really quickly because it does have fat in the bottom and on the sides from when it was resting. Here's your liquor. And now I'm going to pour this refined liquor back in. And I'm going to place the chicken back in. So this is an unnecessary step that just makes it extra fancy. So if you can do this, if you can get this so that you are good at this, people will ask for this all the time. You can serve this traditionally with quartered baby bell mushrooms that you just fry in a pan real quick, and before you serve, you put them in. The reason you don't cook it in there is they'll just disintegrate, so you cook them at the last minute and add them. You can do the same thing with pearl onions. Cook them in a little bit of butter and add them right before you serve. And then you cut a little parsley, like I said, and your friends are gonna freak out. Coq au vin. And we made a good one here, so I hope you guys will all enjoy it later. So let's go back to this bread, which takes about 40 minutes. So time it so when they come in, they smell the fresh bread and the coq au vin and everything all together. So here we go, we're gonna finish the bread. So through the magic of television, we now have a bread dough that has been resting for 12 hours. So as we pull it out, you're gonna see it makes these strings. So that's gluten, that's what you want. So you take a nice clean rag and you put some flour down on the rag, like this, and you basically pull out your dough and it'll plop down like that. Make it into a nice little circle, okay, like that. You're not kneading it, right? Because it's no knead. So you're gonna fold it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're gonna put it this side down, make sure it's nice and floured. This is the bottom. And when we put it into the pan, we're gonna flip it again. But we're gonna do a sort of a 10-minute second rise or second prove. You can do this for 30 minutes or for as long as you want, really, another 3 hours. But really 10 minutes, 20 minutes is good. I'm just gonna fold this over like this. I've turned the oven on to 480, 500, and I've put a Dutch oven in there to be piping hot. So we're just leaving this for its second prove. Okay, you've done your second prove, and it's about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half from when the boy comes or the girl comes. You have your coq au vin, it's been skimmed and all that stuff, and you're now ready to cook your bread. Here it is, it's had its second prove. The fold I made is underneath. This is not perfectly easy to pick it up and drop it in there. This has been on at almost full whack, 500 if you can deal with it. This is at 490. Here we go. I'm gonna take out the Dutch oven so it's placed correctly for me. It's really, really hot. I'm gonna take my bread using the towel, I'm gonna turn it like this, and I'm gonna go like this. Then I pick this up, and I put it back in the oven, and I close the door, and that's it. It's gonna get hot in your kitchen, it's hot in here right now. You cook it for about 30 minutes, all the time thinking, it's never gonna work. With the lid on, which I forgot to do. Hilarious. 30 minutes with the lid on, 10 minutes with the lid off. You'll see what's gonna happen. You'll see how beautiful it is. Ceviche. Don't be afraid. It's fish that's cooked in acid. It's cooked. It's not sushi. It's essentially cooked in lime juice. And it's very bright and light and living. Lovely sort of pick-me-up at the beginning of a meal. It's a perfect foil for the richness and beauty of the coq au vin. There's a couple of rules about ceviche. Number one, you don't want to use greasy fish. You don't want to use bluefish, mackerel, anything that has a lot of oil, oily fish. Also, freshwater fish doesn't really work that well. Perfect fishes are. I love sea bass from Corjay, the greatest fish market in the world in West Hampton. But really, any North Atlantic sea bass, if you live in the North Atlantic. Snapper, but you have to be careful because it's not sustainable. A lot of it's endangered. Anything that's sort of firm and white and, is, I would say halibut is even a little bit too fatty. You want something lean and white. So we have here 2 gorgeous sea bass fillets. And the other important thing is you have to remove the bloodline. The bloodline is bitter, okay? Now, the fishmonger who I tipped removed the bloodline for me, but I'm going to continue to clean up these pieces prior to making the ceviche. This is sometime during the day when you have a couple minutes. You're gonna take out the fish, you're gonna look at it, you're gonna feel like this for bones. I don't feel any bones, but I do see a bloodline right here. I'm gonna go like this. Okay. And the bloodline is here, and I'm gonna cut it out. Cut it out. So now I have a beautiful piece of fish. I'm not crazy about the dark patch here, so I'm actually gonna get a better knife. Okay, I'm gonna cut this because I don't like the look of it. That's the correct knife, by the way. This is too thin, so I'm gonna cut that. This is a little bit pink, and there appears to be a bloodline here. Now I have a very nice uniform piece. That piece is a little thin here. You're gonna lose some of the fish you bought, but this is delicate preparation. Okay, here we go to the second fillet. I'm feeling for bones. I don't feel any bones, but I do see a bloodline right there. And I cut along the bloodline. And I have one fillet here. I feel it, feels okay to me. I'm gonna cut the stringy end. I don't like the look of that, so I'm gonna cut this off. So basically you're kind of just feeling for any bumps or looking for any dark red lines. You have some waste, but you know, your ceviche is no joke. The other golden rule is it must be cold even before you prepare it. So I'm just gonna throw this back in the refrigerator on a little plate until we're ready to actually make ceviche. You wanna treat it nice. This is a very special appetizer. I'm just putting a cold cloth on it. I'm not gonna bother wrapping it. 10 minutes or 15 minutes before I wanna serve it, counting prep time, I'm gonna prepare this and serve it to my guests. And you'll see how easy this is and how much your friends love it. It's beautiful. Salad. Remember, your guests don't wanna see this. They don't want to see the plastic thing, okay? So put this in a bowl before they get there. Always look for chewing gum. I didn't find chewing gum, but always look for chewing gum. Even if they say it's washed, you know, you never know. So for this particular meal, I used a very bright salad, hard pieces of spinach, spicy pieces of arugula. I'm gonna put this in a cool place, possibly with a cool paper towel draped on top. Salad dressing, vinaigrette. All right, this is something that causes people anxiety. Listen, I'm not great at making salad dressing. It's not my forte. So I learned to trust my taste buds. So the first thing we're gonna do is put some olive oil into this bowl. Then we're going to put some lemon. These look like oranges, but in fact they're lemons. They're Meyer lemons. They're incredibly orange-like, to the point where you really think they might be oranges. But they're not, they're lemons. So I'm putting in 2 halves of juice, comme ça, voila. Give it a little whiskey poo. Then I'm gonna put a little red vinegar, just for the hell of it, because we usually use white vinegar. I want this to be very bright, so I'm putting a little vinegar in here, and now I'm gonna taste it, because I wanna make sure there isn't too much oil or too much vinegar. Pretty close to perfect. I'm gonna put in a little mustard. And you're making a classic vinaigrette here. It's emulsifying. Oh my God! It's making salad dressing! What do I do? Put a little salt. You like that chefy way I did that, Reg?
Yeah.
A little salt and pepper. And now you're gonna use your dinner partier skills. You're gonna taste it. It needs a little more vinegar. Vinegar is tart, remember it's acid. So if you taste too much oil, this is also acid. You want to put a little more acid in here. Acid. You're good by now. I mean, like you've watched a couple episodes, you know what you're doing. You just want to keep this cool and fresh and nice, your salad. And you want to keep this, you know, ready with its thing to be stirred and drizzled onto your salad. Very easy stuff here, guys. I know you can do it. Where does the dressing go? Why, it goes on the salad. It's bread time. That's what I said time. You want to be dead time? Then take the bread time. Look at this. Miracolo. 4 ingredients. Flour, salt, and yeast. 3 ingredients. It's bread! Look at that! Give me a break! So leave that to cool, because it's nuclear right now. You can serve this warm, I mean, it's divine, with coq au vin, give me a break. You can wrap it in a nice sort of towel and bring it to the table and let them tear it apart. Or you can leave it, you know, and make sandwich, you can do anything with it. It's bread. You actually made bread. The first time I did it, I could not believe that I had made bread. I made bread. Good job, Brandy. That's what I thought. All right. 2 little prep things, and then it's time to make your ceviche, okay? You've cut some shallots beautifully and finely. You're gonna use a little bit of jalapeno. So let's cut this jalapeno down the center. Remember, after you do this, don't go potty and wipe your hoo-hoo, because you will seriously regret it. So I'm taking the seeds out of the jalapeno, which has been washed. I'm gonna do like little threads like that. Little perfect threads. I'm only gonna do about 4 of these. Maybe I'll do 5. So ceviche is very delicate, and you want your ingredients in your prep to be sort of precious for this, okay? Because everything is gonna shine. So you wanna cut tiny little squares from your bâton. This is an ugly piece, so we get rid of that, okay? You line these up and you cut little tiny squares. Now this is gonna be fairly spicy, but ceviche should be a little bit spicy. And it's also very important the color that you select because it's a very beautiful dish, okay? So you wanna make sure that you have some green, some pink, some white, it's a lovely to look at thing. I serve this on a salt block, this very fancy present that I received, which is a pink Himalayan salt tray, essentially. You can serve it on a simple white plate with tortilla chips, with toothpicks if you want, with anything that they can sort of scoop it up with, little spoons, whatever you'd like. All right, so we are now ready. We have everything we need to make the ceviche. They are here. It takes 10 minutes for this to cook in the lime juice. I'm going to get the fish out and I'm going to cut it for the ceviche now. They're here. They're talking to me. I go to the fridge. Oh yes, I haven't seen the new Wonder Woman movie. Isn't it great that there's a superhero who's abroad? So what you want to do is you want to make it attractive for eating little pieces of fish size. If I cut this like that, that's a nasty piece of fish. So what you want to do is cut this down the center using your good knife. Cut this down the center, right? Line it up and cut these pieces on a bias like that. That's what they should look like, okay? Throw them in your bowl. Bias, bias, bias. Not too small, not too thick. See that? That's perfect. Bias cut, bias cut. If it's too small, they're gonna turn into mush. See this size, like that. That's almost a teeny bit too big. Okay, going on to the next piece, taking a look at it, teeny bit thick. So I'm gonna cut it in half down here, but not up here, because it's thinner up here. So there we go. Take 2 pieces like this, and bias, bias, bias. Smells like nothing, which is exactly how it should smell. Now, I don't know the name of the chemical reaction, but the fish actually cooks, like for real cooks in the lime juice. It doesn't just appear cooked, it is cooked, physically cooked. It's cooked. It's cooked, I tell you. All right, there's your cut ceviche, gorgeous. Here we go. Taking the jalapeno, sprinkling the jalapeno in, like that, so already beautiful. I'm taking my finely cut shallots, and Lynn said we had too many boring videos of me cutting shallots, so we didn't show you. There's a big piece, we're taking that out. Take out anything ugly, like that. And then we have the famous Randy Sharp chefy thing, which are pink peppercorns. And I just put these in essentially for color, because they're delightful. Now, if you had a pink chili, like a pink one of these, you wouldn't have to do this. I just do this because I think it looks so charming. Now here comes the all-important chemical, the lime juice. How much do you put in? You're cooking it in it, okay? You're not gonna serve it swimming in lime juice, but you should cover it. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna put a little bit of salt. I literally use a phone timer because I've discovered that anything over 10 minutes is an issue. It goes into the fridge, in the back of the fridge where it can stay really, really cold, and you time it for 10 minutes exactly. You can cover it with a little sort of rag if you'd like. Here, we'll cover it with this. We had this on it before. So you cover it like that, and here we go. It's ceviche time. It's ceviche time. How much time does the ceviche take? You can ask me. Oh, I have to think of a rhyme. So here we go, 10 minutes. How much time does the ceviche take? The ceviche takes 10 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. How much time does ceviche take? There's really no rhyme for ceviche or minutes, so there you go. It's been 10 minutes or so. I'm taking the ceviche out. It's now ready. I have this very nice little tray here, and when I take this out, I'm going to drain it a little bit, see, with my spoon. Oh, it's beautiful. You want to get the green and pink? I made this all summer, and you had to make sure people were told when cocktails were because they would get very upset if they missed the ceviche. So I'm covering it with the little bits of stuff like that, little bits of shallot and jalapeno and pink peppercorns. And then just for the sake of beauty, I'm going to serve it with 4 little lime wedges. It's beautiful, random. Remember, never too studied looking. Okay, that is a thing of beauty right there. Ceviche, baby. Oh, yes. What did we make today? We made beautiful, light, bright, living ceviche. Renews your faith in humanity. We also made a very simple mustard vinaigrette. Delicious. We made bread. Who the hell makes their own bread? We do. Luxurious, magnificent coq au vin. Egg noodles with parsley to go with our unctuous coq au vin. Lovely bright salad of arugula and spinach. We have a flourless chocolate cake. Anybody can eat it. Very good with whipped cream, ice cream, chantilly cream, malted milk cream. We all scream for dinner party tonight. We want to thank you guys so much for sticking with Dinner Party Tonight. And we're going to be creating a lot of content over the next few weeks because we know we had a little bit of a dry spell. And thank you so much for your suggestions. And we're going to take them all, basically, and cook meals for you guys to enjoy with your friends and family. Do not be afraid. You can do it. Thank you, and good night. Good job, Randy. That's what I thought.